The night above the colony of New Carthage was clear, stars scattered like jeweled dust across a canvas of black. For most, the stars were a promise of opportunity, of new beginnings among distant worlds. For Cassia Hale, they had always been warnings, sharp points of light marking the presence of civilizations older and crueler than her own. She stood at the observation deck of the agricultural complex, her friends clustered close, laughter carrying over the hum of machines that sustained the colony's crops. Their mirth was infectious, but Cassia's gaze kept drifting outward, to the void, as though some silent instinct whispered that the night would not last. The Empire's fleet arrived without ceremony. No warning sirens screamed from the colony defenses. There was no time. A shimmer split the sky, ripples of light like water breaking apart, and suddenly the massive silhouettes of warships blocked out the stars. Their angular hulls reflected no warmth, no beauty, only a predatory intent. The ground shook with a low, rolling thunder as energy fields enveloped the settlement. Cassia's laughter died in her throat. She saw the others turn, their smiles faltering, before the sky itself descended. Troop transports rained from the vessels above, black spears cutting through atmosphere. They landed with brutal precision, their sides hissing open to disgorge armored figures whose faces were hidden behind polished masks. The colonists scattered, but resistance was meaningless. The invaders moved with rehearsed indifference, as though they were not fighting enemies but gathering resources. One of them seized Cassia's arm, its grip cold and unyielding. She kicked and clawed, but her strength was that of a frightened girl against the engineered muscles of a soldier bred for conquest. Beside her, Mira screamed, her long braid catching on the soldier's gauntlet as she was dragged away. Eleonora, smaller and slower, tripped and was pulled up like a sack of grain. 3 others from their work group vanished into the maw of the transport, their cries muffled by the vessel's hum. Cassia fought until the butt of a rifle struck her ribs, and the air fled her lungs in a rush of agony. She fell to her knees, vision blurred, the world reduced to flashes of chaos, friends herded like livestock, the colony's defenses crushed in minutes, the invaders vanishing into their ships. When the transport lifted, Cassia was among its captives, the colony receding into a patchwork of lights below. Through the crack in the vessel's hatch she glimpsed her home one last time, and then the sky folded inward, swallowing the stars as the ship leapt into faster-than-light transit. In the Empire's staging vessel, the captives were processed like contraband. Human speech was ignored, their names stripped, their pleas treated as noise. The soldiers spoke in guttural syllables, commands clipped, each gesture practiced. Cassia learned quickly that resistance brought pain but not death. Their captors wanted them alive, though for what purpose remained a gnawing fear. Her ribs ached with every breath, but her eyes did not falter when they met those of Mira and Eleonora. They were together still, for now, and that was the only thread keeping despair at bay. The imperial officer who eventually inspected them did so with the detachment of a merchant appraising goods. His uniform shimmered faintly in the sterile light, and the scars along his jaw suggested he had seen battle once, though his eyes betrayed only boredom now. He barked an order, and the girls were led deeper into the ship. Cassia's mind clung to fragments of hope. Someone would know. The colony had transmitters, emergency relays buried deep enough that they might have survived the attack. Humanity was not without defenses. Earth and its colonies had fought wars before, if not on this scale. Yet even as she thought it, she remembered the overwhelming sight of the Empire's fleet blotting out the stars, and her faith wavered. News traveled faster than ships. Within days, the story reached Earth. Not through official channels, but through smuggled data streams, frantic survivor accounts, and the intercepted chatter of alien networks. What began as rumor hardened into fact. The Empire had taken human girls, not for diplomacy or negotiation, but as trophies. Humanity, long considered a rising species but still beneath the great powers, had been insulted in the most primal way. In the central chambers of the United Terran Council, the atmosphere burned with outrage. Generals in crisp uniforms stood beside scientists whose innovations had once been hidden from the galaxy's gaze. Politicians who bickered over trade and territory now spoke with one voice, their rhetoric sharpened by fury. Humanity's history was a chronicle of resistance, of survival through catastrophe. Empires had risen before them on Earth itself, had enslaved and colonized, but never without consequence. Humanity's collective memory carried scars that no alien could understand. To steal their daughters was to scrape those scars raw and dare them to bleed again. Among the council, Admiral Marcus Wren stood out, a man whose very posture radiated the controlled violence of steel coiled into spring. His voice, gravel from years of command, cut through the uproar. This is not an incident. This is declaration. If we allow them to take even one without retribution, we condemn every human child, every human life, to their leash. We will answer. Not with words. With extinction. The chamber quieted, not in disagreement but in awe. Wren was known for his ruthless clarity, for decisions that left no room for half measures. Around him, heads began to nod. The scientists leaned forward, whispering of projects long buried in black vaults, technologies too dangerous to reveal until necessity outweighed fear. The politicians, so often guardians of caution, realized that the will of their people would not tolerate delay. On Earth's streets and across the colonies, anger surged like wildfire, ordinary citizens demanding vengeance. Kasia could not hear these voices, imprisoned light years away, but she would have recognized them as echoes of her own silent vow. She had not broken when the rifle cracked her ribs, had not surrendered when steel gauntlets forced her down. The Empire thought of her as livestock. Humanity would prove them wrong. The first strike came not with thunderous fleets but with silence. An Imperial listening post on the rim of the Orion spur blinked out, its signal vanishing mid-transmission. At first the Empire dismissed it as malfunction, until 2 more stations followed within hours, each one snuffed out as though erased from existence. What fragments of surveillance remained revealed nothing. No ships, no heat signatures, only the sudden cold void where life had been. Admiral Marcus Wren watched the recordings with calm detachment. Behind him, his officers shifted uneasily. "They will search for us," one ventured, voice tight. Wren's gaze did not leave the screen. "Let them search. The more they look outward, the closer we strike at their heart." The Council's decision had not been unanimous, but Wren had carried the day. Humanity would not negotiate. They would reveal the full extent of their ingenuity, technologies long hidden behind treaties and false displays of weakness. The time for secrecy was over. In the hangar bays of Earth's orbit, warships gleamed under artificial light. Some bore the marks of decades of quiet preparation, hulls reinforced with alloys unknown to the galaxy, systems controlled not by human hands alone but by integrated artificial minds bred for war. These minds were not mere programs but companions, bound by design to the survival of their crews. Wren had demanded they remain hidden until humanity faced annihilation. Now, with daughters stolen and dignity insulted, he unshackled them. At the center of this storm stood Captain Elena Voren, young by rank but tempered by conflicts along the frontier. Her ship, the Revenant, had been one of the secret projects, a predator disguised as a standard patrol craft. She stood before her crew with steady eyes, the kind that made others believe survival was not just possible but certain. "We are not here for revenge," she told them, though the hunger for it burned in every soul aboard. "We are here for proof. Proof that humanity is not prey. Proof that they chose the wrong species to provoke." The first true engagement came at the border world of Varishkai, an imperial garrison that watched over trade routes. Its governor, a man of wealth and indulgence, was holding a banquet when alarms tore through the marble halls. Through towering windows, guests watched as the void itself seemed to tear open, human ships dropping from faster than light with impossible precision. Where imperial fleets lumbered like beasts, the Terran armada moved like a swarm of knives. The Revenant struck first, its weapons invisible until impact. Shields designed to repel known forms of energy flared, then shattered, unable to comprehend the frequencies humans wielded. Turrets rotated, searching for targets, but the Terran ships were already behind them, slicing through with surgical efficiency. Within minutes the garrison's fleet was gutted, its command relays severed, its defenses blind. Imperial officers shouted orders, but panic spread faster than discipline. To the Empire, battles were pageantry, overwhelming numbers crushing resistance. They had never faced an enemy who thought like humans, who built machines not to intimidate but to kill without hesitation. When the smoke cleared, the garrison was ash, and a single transmission spread across the stars, footage of the enslaved girls being freed from the Imperial command ship, humanity's flag unfurling behind them. On a dozen worlds, that message ignited fire. Alien races long cowed by Imperial dominance whispered of rebellion. Some cheered the boldness of the humans, others trembled, wondering if a predator worse than the Empire had awoken. Kasha Hale, bruised but alive, stood in the Revenant's medbay when Elena entered. For the first time since her capture, Kasha's eyes did not hold despair but the fragile spark of belief. "You came," she whispered, voice raw. Elena crouched beside her. "We'll always come. And we're not finished." The words carried across the ship, across the fleet, across humanity itself. Each freed captive became a symbol, each victory a promise that the insult dealt to their species would be repaid tenfold. Yet within the Empire, disbelief curdled into rage. High Chancellor Vera convened the Imperial War Council in the vaulted chambers of the throne citadel. Advisors pleaded for caution, citing humanity's unknown technologies, but pride drowned their warnings. Vera's voice thundered, "They are vermin. They bleed. We will make them kneel." But as reports of defeat piled higher, outposts erased, fleets shattered, supply lines severed, the council fractured. Some demanded escalation, others whispered of diplomacy, an unthinkable concession for a power that had never bowed. Whispers of fear grew among the lesser species bound to imperial rule. If the humans could do this to the Empire, what hope had anyone of resisting them? Ren studied these fractures with the cold patience of a predator circling wounded prey. In private meetings with his captains, he outlined the next phase. The goal was not simply to win battles but to unravel the Empire from within. Terror would be their ally. Every strike would be not only destruction but a message. No world was safe, no fortress unassailable, no chain unbreakable. Elena's Revenant led raids that targeted not soldiers but symbols. Grand statues toppled, governors executed on public broadcasts, the Empire's own people shone the fragility of their rulers. Her crew followed her into each mission without hesitation, their trust forged in fire. Even those who had once doubted the wisdom of war now saw the truth written in the Empire's retreat. Kasha, recovering among the fleet, became a voice of resolve. She spoke to the rescued, to the soldiers, her words not rehearsed but raw. "They thought we were weak. They thought we would break. But we are human. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And we do not stop." Her speeches spread across channels, interwoven with footage of victories, stoking a flame that no propaganda could smother. To the galaxy, she became more than a victim, she was the spark of vengeance embodied, proof that humanity's fury was not an abstraction but a living will. The Empire struck back where it could, but each response revealed their desperation. Fleets once thought invincible crumbled under the relentless tide. Officers who underestimated humans never lived long enough to learn. The galaxy watched as a predator once feared now staggered beneath the claws of a species it had mocked. Ren knew this was only the beginning. The war was not won yet, and arrogance was as dangerous to his people as it had been to the Empire. But the momentum was theirs, and with each passing day, the choice before humanity grew clearer. This was not about survival alone. This was about judgment, about whether the Empire deserved to exist at all. The Empire's frontier burned. Entire sectors lay in ruin, blackened husks of once proud cities orbiting the wreckage of shattered fleets. The devastation was methodical, calculated not merely to destroy but to humiliate. Humanity had transformed from a rising species into a storm of vengeance, and the galaxy trembled in its wake. Kasha Hale watched from the viewport of the Revenant as another Imperial station fractured, its great ring collapsing into a blossom of fire. Her reflection trembled in the glass, a young woman marked by pain yet hardened by survival. She had once been a farmer's daughter on New Carthage. Now she was witness to the unraveling of an empire. Admiral Wren's voice cut across the calm. The Emperor gathers his fleet at Terath Prime. They mean to break us with one decisive blow. In the strategy chamber, holograms flickered, thousands of enemy ships converging around the jewel world of Terath, the heart of Imperial pride. The galaxy's most fortified bastion, bristling with weapons and fleets, a system designed to crush all challengers. Wren's expression was carved from iron. This will be their last stand. And it will be their grave. Captain Elena Voran stood beside him, her uniform dusted with the ash of 100 battles. They'll throw everything at us. If we falter. Wren cut her off with a single glance. We will not falter. They took our daughters. They believed we would kneel. We will show them what it means to awaken humanity's wrath. The plan was madness, and yet it carried the calm inevitability of truth. The fleet's AI minds had devised maneuvers impossible for organic tacticians to predict, threading ships through fire with precision born of logic and instinct combined. Humanity's weapons, tuned to frequencies still unknown to Imperial science, promised devastation on a scale unseen since the galaxy's birth. Yet it was not technology alone that would decide the outcome. It was will, the unyielding resolve of a species that refused to be broken. As the Terran fleet descended on Terath Prime, the void bloomed with light. Imperial warships arrayed in ranks like a wall of steel, their banners glowing with the emblems of countless conquered worlds. Drums of war thundered across comms, alien voices raised in fanatical oaths to crush the humans. To the Empire, this battle was destiny, the reclamation of order. To humanity, it was justice sharpened into extinction. The first clash was blinding. Human ships darted like phantoms, weaving through the colossal formations, striking where shields were weakest. Imperial guns roared, but their targets were already gone, replaced by holographic echoes. The Revenant cut deep into the enemy line, tearing through cruisers as though they were paper. Elena's orders rang steady, her crew moving as extensions of her will. In the command carrier, Wren watched the tide unfold. His eyes were steady, though every second carried the weight of thousands of lives. Phase 2, he commanded, and across the fleet, dormant systems awoke. Planet cracker torpedoes slid from their bays, engines igniting with cold blue flame. The galaxy would never forget what followed. The torpedoes did not strike ships but suns. Their payloads, forged in secret, destabilized the star of Terath itself. Within minutes, solar flares erupted like titanic whips, searing through Imperial formations. The Emperor's proud fleet faltered as its heart turned against it, shields burning, hulls rupturing under the fury of their own sun. But the Emperor himself did not flee. His flagship, the Colossus, rose from the inferno, a vessel larger than cities, its cannons cutting swathes through human squadrons. His voice, magnified across every channel, rang with venom. You dare defy eternity? You dare believe yourselves our equals? You are insects, and we are the storm. Wren answered with quiet steel. You are not the storm. You are the past. The Revenant and 3 sister ships closed on the Colossus, weaving between blasts that could vaporize continents. Kasha clung to her seat in the medbay, watching as the ship shook with each near miss. Fear coiled in her chest, yet beneath it burned a certainty she could not explain. Humanity had come too far to falter now. Elena's voice never wavered. Target the command spire. Focus fire. The Revenant's cannons lanced out, joined by dozens of others. The Colossus reeled, shields shattering in cascades of light. Still it fought, a dying beast refusing to yield, but the tide had turned. Human vessels swarmed like wolves, stripping its armor piece by piece until the Emperor's voice became a strangled roar. When the Colossus finally broke apart, the explosion lit the system brighter than day. Fragments of the Empire's pride tumbled into the flames of Teyratha's dying sun. Silence fell across the channels, broken only by Ren's voice. The Emperor is gone. The Empire ends tonight. Yet the war did not stop with victory. On Imperial worlds, news spread like fire. Soldiers abandoned their posts, civilians rose in revolt, entire sectors collapsed into chaos. Humanity did not occupy, did not conquer, they annihilated. Worlds loyal to the Empire burned, their rulers executed, their banners torn down. The message was unmistakable: the age of the Empire was over, and its legacy would be ashes. Cassius stood on the bridge of the Revenant when the order came. "We erase them," Ren declared, his eyes fixed on the stars. "No survivors. No chance for rebirth. They will never rise again." The words chilled her, even as they thrilled the crew. Justice had been won, vengeance delivered, but as she looked out into the dark, Cassia wondered what it meant to wield such power. To destroy not only armies but civilizations. Humanity had proven it was no one's prey. But had they become something worse? The thought lingered as the fleet prepared for its final campaign, the extermination of every Imperial remnant. The war was ending, but the story of humanity was only beginning.